Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery, relationship-building conversation designed to invite you to look at your language. Many times we come up with all the lovely words that we can think of and still find ourselves in a place of disconnection, mainly because words don't just come with definitions. They come with stories, they come with expectations, um, and they even come with energies. So what I'm inviting you to do is to have a one-word conversation so you can learn a little bit more about yourself, the person you're speaking to, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to build on your conversation, on your relationship within that conversation. One More Conversations is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at IamWilliamBrown.com, the store, is our U-Cards. Our U-Cards are a part of the Beyond the Shell series that include 2 children's books, a journal, and the cards. The 2 children's books are The Journey to Stay You and Finding You Beyond What Protects You. So the cards that I picked for today to set the intention for this conversation is I Am Purpose, You Are Brave, and There Is No One Youer Than You. So with that in mind, the intention set, I will do what I can to invite you to like, share, comment, ask questions, and if you're on YouTube, subscribe so you can see some of the other conversations. So our word for this morning is maturity. So I have been working very hard to kind of really understand what this means for me, because there's some days that I think that I'm so mature, and other moments I just don't know. But as I do, I invite a guest in so we can have a conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Hi, my name is Evala Rahm, and I am a leadership development coach based out of Louisville, Kentucky, although I've lived many, many different places over the last 40 or so years. And I liked what you shared about how words have a certain energy to them and can bring energy to conversations, because one of the modalities that I use is energy leadership. And we talk a lot about energy in energy leadership.
Yeah, wonderful. So, with that in mind, how does the word maturity land for you?
Well, it immediately made me think of my son, and he is 27 years old. And I used to throw that word around a lot as he was growing up, and now I regret it because
Me too.
clearly I do not know what it means. And I was
Wow.
thinking when I was in the green room, I'm thinking, oh, what does it mean? Does it mean that you think of others when you make decisions? Because in my mind, maturity is, I think of leaders like Gandhi and Mother Teresa who uh, put other people and their mission above themselves as individuals.
Right.
And how I would like to do that on a regular and consistent basis. But the human being inside of me tends to take over and
Right.
fear, and sometimes I make decisions that are really immature, and as a grown up I pay
Right.
for that, not
Right.
making mature decisions. Yeah.
Wow. It's kind of funny because I have 4 adult children, and I've thrown that maturity word around a lot. You're just not mature, right? You need to grow up, right? And
Mm.
it's like, wow, that's a very immature thing to say, right? you know, um, it is really, many times for me, maturity is like connected to age, right? In
Mm,
my mind, it's like at a certain age, I'm going to be mature, right? Right?
mhm.
It's like this magic number. But I'm in my 50s, and I there's some 50-year-olds that's like, yeah, that maturity thing hasn't shown up for them yet, right? So, right,
Yeah.
it's like now, so like you were saying, I thought I knew what it meant, but when I started looking, I was like, uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have been using this.
Well, I mentioned my son who is 27, and he and I have very similar personalities. But my daughter has been mature since she was 5.
Right,
I mean,
right,
and and in fact, I often talk to her for advice because
right.
she seems
Wow.
to have her head screwed on a little better than I do
Right.
sometimes. And I feel so blessed in that way. I feel blessed that I have this young woman who's 25 who I don't need to do anything to. She and I have this friendship relationship almost
Right.
because of her maturity. And then I look at that relationship with my son and I feel blessed because I can be crazy like him. And
Right.
because of that, he and I have a certain trust level because he knows that whatever's going on with him, I get, I understand, I can empathize
Right. You
because I
probably
have
did it
this.
yourself, right?
Yes. So there's gratitude on both sides of that. One child being so much more mature than the other, but I being able to have relationships with both of them.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting when you were talking about your daughter, because I have one of I guess a couple. It's like I'm not going to mention any names. I have like one son, so if I say her, then they'll be like figuring out which one is it that I'm
Mm,
that I'm talking about. But they all know. They all know that maturity is almost a self-awareness thing, that you're just like you're comfortable in how you're showing up and how you're seeing the world and how you're relating to the world, and you're, I guess, dare I say, responsible around that. There is this knowing how to do it, and I can see there's a couple of my kids that, you know, with no help from dad, right? They had some sense, right? They could like figure things out, and it's like, huh? I guess I didn't have to teach them that, right? And it's really interesting.
hmm Yeah, as you were talking, I was thinking about my son, and then I went, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said he or she."
Right, right,
Oh
right.
well,
Oh well, it's
it is what it is because he and I have conversations about this all the time. But it's interesting because my friends have seen him grow since he was a child, and they have said, "Oh, Kendrick has just gotten so mature." And it's like, what does that mean? Does it mean he can support himself now? Does that
right,
mean that he doesn't need mom and dad to take care of him? What does that mean? And
right,
he has been self-sufficient since he moved out of the house when he was 18 years old. It's been almost 10 years. He's
right.
worked on himself. He's had some bumps in the road, but yet he is and he is in recovery. He's told me it's okay to say that. He's sober, and he has stayed sober the whole time
Right.
with all of
Wow.
those bumps in the road. And so that takes a certain level of maturity. He can't just go, "This sucks, I'm going to go use drugs, I'm going to go
Right,
drink." I mean,
right.
because he chooses not to do that. That is a maturity that
Hmm.
many people do not have. Many
Right,
people do not have to be able to face those challenges head on with a clear mind, even though emotionally it might not be clear, but
right,
there's no chemicals or anything to block the feelings that you're feeling, the
right.
thoughts that you're having, and to take action to maintain that sobriety while you're going through rough stuff. That is definitely a sign of maturity.
Right. Wow. Congratulations, to him, and everything, because it's a long road. It's a reminder that, there's those daily choices, those moment by moment choices that, am I going to do something in the best interest of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of my sobriety or my health or the people that are around me. And so for me, maturity is now showing up as that recognize this is what I need and this is what others need that I'm connected to
Mhm.
that are around me, and in that I wanted to bring within in this conversation leadership because it's a part of your work. And you know, is there a such thing as a mature leader? Right.
I hope not.
Right.
You know, there is something to be said for facing challenges head on. There's something to be said for being able to make quick decisions. There's something to be said for being able to look at a numbers chart and know what to do next. There's something to be said for all of those things that are traditional business leadership um, traits, I guess is a good word for that.
Right.
However, to be mature and not be able to be childlike is
Mm,
not a great way to be a leader. I think there's a difference between maturity,
mm,
which is kind of being a grown up, and still being able to bring that childlikeness to your leadership style. When I think of maturity, if I'm picturing a mature person, I'm picturing someone who has their act together, right? Which
right.
I don't. So when
I
you
was
can
like,
share with me your lack of having an act together, then I can relate to you. And if you are a leader who says, man, I just got so stressed out, I ate a whole jar of peanut butter and watched Netflix all weekend, I can
right,
understand that and I can relate to that. And that's something
got
a
it.
kid would do, right? That's not what a mature person would. A mature person would take the issue and wrap it up and package it so it's just awesome. But
Right.
that childlikeness, being able to own it is a vulnerability.
Mm,
And a
right.
vulnerability in you is a strength because I'm looking at it and it's your vulnerability. But in me,
Right.
it's a weakness. I don't want anyone to see that I sat at home all weekend and ate a jar of peanut butter, right?
Right.
So
Wow.
to be able to bring that to a table seems like the best way to build business relationships, leadership relationships, whether it's in the business world or if you're a team leader in a church community or you volunteer for your kids' swim team. To be a
Right.
leader, you have to be able to bring some childlike thinking to it because if you're serious all the time, number
Right.
one, it's a rough road to walk. And number
Right.
two, no one will like you
Right. Right.
because you
Sounds
can't
like
laugh. You have to be able to laugh at yourself.
right. Is it that that sounded like you've experienced that firsthand.
I have.
It's like you felt that, right? You know, it's but no, it is something for me. I I was considered like the serious kid, right?
Mm,
I was still trying to figure it out. In my mind, I didn't think I was mature, but there was this level of serious. And when you were sharing that, I was like, most of the times when it's something I don't know if you remember, because we have adult children now.
mhm.
We remember those days in our parenting where we were trying to be like the adult and something happens and you just laugh, right? As a parent. And it's like, okay, I need to be serious here, right? This is, this is really serious business, like knock it off. But it's like the giggles, right? And it's like,
Mm.
how, how can we kind of keep the maturity card, but still be serious or be let people know that okay, all right, this is what's happening. And it's like sometimes it feels like they're at odds with each other.
When you were talking, I just had this horrible memory pop into my
Oh, I'm sorry.
head. So I guess I'm gonna just share it and make everyone feel awful. So, um, uh, in the spirit of trying to do the right thing and be the good not the good parent, but the responsible parent, the mature parent. The man I was married to, the father of my children, traveled a lot, and he was gone, and something happened, and I walked into my bathroom, and the shower curtain was like all crooked, like it was falling off or something. So of
Right.
course,
Right.
who messed up the kids? Get in here! And I'm yelling at them, and I know it's not the Yorkies that did it
Right. Right.
because they're too small. The husband is at home, so it must be one of you. And I'm just in their faces, thinking that power and control is the way to get the answer. That,
Right.
being the parent, because as a parent, we have power over these little lives that are running around us. And all I did was instill fear. That is all
Right.
that I did. It's called catabolic energy, when
Mm.
things get done, because they, of course, did not tell me who did it.
Right.
So I never knew. But being able to laugh at it now, I think they have actually blocked it out from it's
Right.
somewhere very, very deeply suppressed. It will come out in therapy in a few years, I'm sure. But
Right.
that was a wake up call for me of taking things too seriously, and I have got to get a grip, because as those words are coming out of my mouth, I can see the fear on their faces, and it's registering with me. What a horrible parent. Oh, but I
Right.
couldn't stop, because I
Right.
thought I have to be the grown up here, even
Right.
though it was
Wow.
something that nobody cared about. I mean, it's a shower curtain, for God's sakes. Who
Right.
cares if it's crooked? No one's going to see it. All I have to do is readjust it, but there has to be a blame factor. There has to be a you need to be
Wow.
responsible factor. All of those so-called adult things that I am trying
Right.
to teach. And all I'm teaching is how to make people scared.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's I've had some of those, who did it, but I know that no one's going to admit.
Yeah.
It's like
Who's going
it's
to
like
admit
they
it to the
had a
crazy
meeting.
person on the other side of the room?
Right. You're right. And it's just like, it's like, I'll wait, it's like, I was that parent that it's like, no one's going to move until the truth comes out. Right.
Yes.
And it's just like, and it's like, sometimes it's like, it feels like they had a meeting and it's like, okay, I think we're going to wait out dad today. Right. Or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I totally get it, because there was, I think that's why I asked you the thing about mature leadership, and this sometimes there is this balance, right? To
Mm-hmm.
recognize how you're showing up to get information, right? How you're showing up to empower people to admit when there's a mistake, or something. Most of the times when um for me, I'll speak for myself. Most of the times when I was either in my business or in my home, when I wasn't getting quality information, I'll put it that way, it was because I didn't create a culture where people could give me quality information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because out of fear, out of of being fired or reprimanded or whatever, sent to their room and taking the Xbox away, whatever it was, there was a culture that was created that kept some people in my organization and in my home from really having the mature conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
To basically giving them the skills to say, hey, this is what happened. I was looking for something and I slipped and I pulled on the shower curtain, right? The end, right? Right.
Right.
Now I know not to do that, right? But when you come in all blazes, you know, I'm not gonna, I am
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say anything.
Mm-hmm.
And gravity did it, right?
Right.
Right? It's like, are you sure you didn't do that, right? Is
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. 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 I just have so many stories. I was thinking of one where, speaking of maturity, if you have kids that are about my age, you've experienced stepping on Legos, I'm sure,
Oh
and
yeah.
it hurts. And
Right.
I can remember I had it. I have how many times do I need to tell you to pick up the Legos, pick up the Legos, pick up the Legos, pick up the Legos, pick up the Legos,
Right.
and they would still be there. And so I'm going doing something, and I remember stepping on one and just kicking
Good.
all of the Legos all over the house. And I'm like, ah! and,
It's
and of course, 40 years later, in hindsight,
great.
that was not a very mature reaction that I had. But it's what happened. It's what
Right.
happened. It shows our humanness. Does immaturity mean humanness? Well, it's a side of us, because a
Right.
lot of times as adults, well, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone. I know for me and a lot of people that I know, we want to look like we have our act together, and that would be
Right.
maturity. But the reality is, we don't. We
Right.
don't. No one
Uh,
does. We're human beings. We
right.
can't. We are this concoction of feelings and thoughts and experiences that have gotten us to where we are, like this big mosaic. It's all got tiny little pieces of tile in it that came from
Right.
somewhere to make something beautiful. But some of those little tiny pieces of tile can be ugly colors, all muddy and mixed up, but it
Right.
still makes the whole a beautiful thing. I
Right.
think that might be what maturity is,
Yeah,
seeing the
that's
mosaic as a whole.
it's what I'm getting from your sharing is that well, when you have kids, it takes a hit on your maturity, right? Right? It's like if you've had it before you had kids, you'll lose it or not, it won't show up as much.
Well, I have a master's degree in counseling, and I believe in one of my classes that they talked about the more children that you have, the more the household IQ goes down.
Right.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, like you start
So,
using
oh
fewer
boy,
syllable
that's
words, you start making more grunts and hums and noises than actual words. I mean, one word,
they'll
yeah.
figure it out.
There's no words
Right.
sometimes.
Right.
There's
It's just the
looks,
look.
there's
Right.
threats.
I mean, because yeah, my mom, I was like afraid to like think something because my mom would say things like, don't even think about it. It's like, what? It's like, how do you know, right? Right? It's like it's that type of thing. So, I I don't know if I've tried that with my kids, but it's like, I have no idea. It's
Hmm.
it's like I told them I love having conversations with my adult children and say, you know what, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, right? I was trying to keep you safe and fed and right, and it's
Hmm.
like, and clean around other people, right, I
Hmm.
mean, it's like other than that, we
Hmm.
were just kind of making it up, and it's like really, I want to believe there's a part of me that wants to believe that maturity is like, you know, it's like a club or a destination that it's like once you get it, you're like you have it. But it seems like it like comes and goes, or it's like
Hmm.
a choice, right? It's like
Hmm.
it is something, either it is there's a habit of being mature or there's not. And sometimes it shows up, or it doesn't, and how it shows up, depending
Hmm.
on what how maturity, shows up for you.
Hmm.
And because there are some people that, like I said, they really think that they're being responsible right now and right.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, there's some more things to kind of consider than that. So,
Hmm.
uh,
I was thinking as you were just sharing about that, the concept of judgment
hmm,
and what other people think are mature behaviors.
right.
Because I don't know about you, but I've been in circumstances often where somebody will say about an adult,
Hmm.
they're just so immature.
Right.
So
I've
what does
been.
that mean? They're not doing what you want them to do.
Hmm,
They're behaving in a manner that's going against your values or just what you believe is socially acceptable. What
right.
is it about that person that makes them mature or not?
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I was like, there's a part of me that's like, I want to have that conversation, and then I don't want to. I don't.
Hmm.
It was like you'll open a can of something, and I think sometimes there are things that we say or the things that I say that it's just a judgment, but I'm talking to people, and if somebody called me out on it, I would have no idea what that means. It just seemed like the thing to say. Someone
Hmm.
did something that I don't think that they should have done. So yeah,
Hmm.
they're immature, right?
Hmm.
And just because there are. There have been times that I've gone to a couple of adult camps,
Hmm.
and they were, it's like, get your play on, have your recapture your inner child, and all that. And it's like the first day, all these grown-ups, show up, right?
Hmm.
And by the end they're like throwing stuff at each other, and and rolling around in the grass. But it was, for me, when I was just remembering that, there I was like so wound so tight the first 3 hours before I gave myself permission to play, because I'm this mature, responsible adult, and all this. And it's like there was this judgment. Most of the times it was just in my eyes. Someone does, somebody around your age or a little older does something that you did when you were a kid. You'll go, really? That's we're still doing that, right? Type of thing. But then there's a part of me that would go, oh, I wish I could do that. I
Yeah.
wish I could be, right?
It looks so fun.
Right. And so it's like, really, how can we embrace our our childlike nature and still be mature? I guess
Hmm.
that's the $1 million question. Yeah,
Hmm.
with all of this.
Yeah. I was thinking of my niece who is 7, going to be 8 in April. And she is just like jumping on the couch at my brother's house, doing flips and handstands and cartwheels. And my brother will say, "Hey, so and so, why don't you show Aunt Evala this or show Aunt Evala that?" And so she's just like, I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that. So a couple of years ago, I tried to do a cartwheel
Oh,
in my front yard, and I hurt my wrists where they were
oh,
like, I couldn't like move my wrists because I overextended them. And I was so proud that I had gotten over the fear of falling from doing the cartwheel, and I
right,
did it. And I'm like, oh, I'm over, look at me. And then
right,
or doing a handstand, because I thought it would be great to record myself
right.
doing a handstand up against the wall. And I got up on the wall, and I was up, and I was so excited, but then my legs started sliding on the wall. I knocked the lamp off the couch. I scared the dog, all these things. And but it was in an effort to have that childlike experience again,
Right.
to
Wow.
live that. So my body has clearly matured
Right.
to no longer allow certain things to happen. And when I was younger, I used to think, why do older people always worry about snow and ice? And now, and, and I haven't even fallen. I haven't even fallen, but the
Right.
fear of falling and
Well,
breaking
right.
something is
Right.
there. And I don't know where it came from. I
Right.
mean, when I was a kid, I had different fears, but now my fears are much more physical related,
Right.
physiological. And, but yeah, when you were talking about that, trying to capture a little bit of that
Right.
childlikeness, maybe we're just not supposed to physically anyway.
Right.
I don't know, but I know I love when I get with my friends and we just get into this giggle fest, like when you were a kid and you went to a church or to a class or somewhere where you're supposed to be quiet, and
Right.
somebody started giggling, and
Right.
then everybody, and then
Everybody.
you couldn't stop.
Right.
That is awesome, and I love doing that as an adult. It's so much fun.
Right. That's funny. The other thing that came up for me in your sharing is that our body will let us know how mature we are, right? It will
Yeah.
remind us. It's like anytime we're like, "Hey, I'm going to do something," it's like, "No, we are mature," right?
Yeah, right. Right.
Right.
No, we don't
You,
do that. No, no, no.
yeah, we don't do flips anymore, right?
You can touch the gym set. You cannot climb on the gym set.
Oh boy, that is funny.
Yes.
There's so many things that life, the more that we're present with, will just let us know. what stage we were in, right? You know?
Yes. Okay, so here's another slant on that maturity. What it means? It means being able to laugh at yourself.
Right.
So
Okay.
as I mentioned earlier, I've just moved into a new house, so we're trying to put up um, mirrors and pictures and things,
Right.
and we had a medicine cabinet, and I was going to put it in the upstairs bathroom, and I went to lift it off the ground to see if it fit there, and I hit the
Uh,
mirror on the sink, and
uh,
part of it broke. I'm like, oh. And then I just from Amazon yesterday got two new mirrors for the main bathroom to go in there, and I'm holding them up and I dropped it. And so my roommate says, you are not allowed to touch anything else
right.
because I'm dropping everything. And two or a decade ago, that would have really bothered me.
right.
But maturity says she's right. I should not touch anything breakable as I unpack
Right.
because clearly
I'm
my
going to
hands
break
don't
it.
have the skills to keep a hold of something. And so being mature is able to go, she's right. Ha ha, that's kind of funny. Because it is. I'm
Right.
telling you, you relate to it and you're laughing because you can see it happening. It's like, oh, she's right.
Absolutely. And it's like there is more, there was so many times that something like that would happen. And I'm like, you know, pouting little kid, upset, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I'm not, I'm not clumsy. It's just, it's like, dude, you're dropping stuff, right? It's like, just deal with it, right? Really
Mm-hmm.
get it. And I totally get that. Being able to laugh at yourself and just find what I call the joy of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
joy of you will show up. Just
Right. Well,
allow.
like what you said in about your books in the beginning, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah, it's like the journey to stay you. You'll just really see. You'll just see how you're showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's a part of a journey. So yeah, it is. I think we can talk about this for hours, but there's a
Yeah.
part of my maturity that is saying there must be something else that should have your
Something more
attention. Right,
mature.
right, right. Something more mature. There's like too much laughing in this conversation. This was supposed to be a mature conversation.
This is what maturity looks like because
Right.
I consider myself and you to be mature.
Well, there you go. So, is there any other words of wisdom that you could leave for everyone about maturity?
You know, this conversation has really brought up so many thoughts and memories from childhood.
Mm,
I don't know why. So when I was 10 or 11, my father worked for International Harvester, the big
okay.
plant. He was an engineer. And in Louisville, the plant closed down, and he had to move to Indianapolis, which is about 2 hours north of Louisville. And he came home on weekends. And so we only saw him on weekends. So I was the oldest of four children, and I had three younger brothers. And I guess was kind of forced into maturity at an early age. My mom was doing some part-time work, and so I would cook and clean and
Right.
take care of my younger siblings. And then when dad came home, we would all clean, and we just had this life where it was so serious. It was so
Mm,
serious because finances were threatened,
right.
and um, I know that that had such an effect on number one, how I parented and the
Mm,
fears that were transferred from my parents right on down the line generationally. And I know my daughter has money issues. I mean, she has money, but she has fear issues around money.
right.
And so for me, maturity then, I was a really mature child, not physically, but I learned how to handle many tasks. I was a
Mm,
multitasker before it was a popular term. It
right.
doesn't really work, and it takes a huge emotional toll.
Mm,
And so maturity is something in my mind, as we talked about at the beginning of this conversation, comes over time. You can't
mm,
just be mature. It's something that has to come from experiences, failures, successes, relationships coming and growing, your body growing and changing, the aging process. All of these things contribute, I think,
right.
to a mature person at your core, the
Right.
center, your heart. Because when I can look at things that happen in the world that bother me and be
Mm,
able to go, it's not me, it's something outside of me. And
right.
how can I live with the thoughts and feelings I'm having about those things? That comes only after I've experienced a lot of life.
Right. Got it.
And
Mm,
that's a sense of maturity for me that started way, way back. And I've had to learn how to let go of some of the seriousness, as we talked about,
right.
so that I can go, you know, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You know,
Mm,
and can I get through that if that does happen?
right. Wow. Well, great. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. So
See, and I didn't even
uh,
prep for this word.
and you didn't even prep, right? And you're ready. So it was all in there, waiting to come out. All those lovely stories to remind us
Thank you. I'm a
how
wealth of
things.
useless information.
Now that's mature. That awareness,
Thank you.
right?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to put you back in the green room. Well, I'll say goodbye. Well, and we'll say our goodbyes from
All
there.
right. Well, thank you, William. It was great to be on the show.
Right. Wonderful. Maturity. Sometimes I just feel that um, there shouldn't be so much smiling or laughter when you're being mature. But what I got from this conversation is laughter is a part of it, right? And if you don't find ways to laugh at yourself and really recognize that you have it figured out and you don't have it figured out. And so yeah, that's what I'm learning. And I think it takes a level of maturity to recognize that. I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com for a complimentary coaching session to help you be yourself and live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you tomorrow on One Word Conversation.